They've been around for a while now. They take care of all the work you don't have time for, or maybe the work you don't even like to do. They free up your time so that you can work on your business and not in it. They are cost effective and they are super grateful for the opportunity to help you. What am I talking about? And no, it's not a guardian angel, but close. I'm talking about a virtual assistant. Now, I've had virtual assistant superstars in my business for over 5 years now. And let me tell you, they just might be the X factor you are looking for. Welcome to the Property Management Podcast. Now, before we dive in, can I ask you a really quick favour? We all know how important reviews are for businesses these days, and mine is no different. If you could spare just 1 minute to follow, rate and review this podcast, it would mean the absolute world to me. And if you'd like to connect with me on a deeper level, there's also a link in the show notes to book in a strategy call. You don't have to keep trying to work all this out yourself. Why not seek the support of someone who has walked the path before you? If you are anything like me, you think you know your rent roll numbers. Well, I thought I did until I had a rent roll health check and I was quite literally shocked. The money I was leaving on the table was astounding. And this is not something that I'm proud to admit. There were missed management fees, let fees, advertising and lease renewal fees not being charged, and properties even without bonds. And all of this was happening despite monthly audits being conducted in my business. So how did I uncover all these gaps in my valuable income? Well, I had a rent roll due diligence from my good friend Tazi, aka the Rent Roll Queen and founder of the Tazi Way, a specialist in rent roll due diligence, business valuation and management rights. The Tazi Way is the innovative force driving the real estate industry. With 25 years of business and real estate acumen, they find gaps and risks in your agency to find undiscovered value. If you'd like to book your business in for a rent roll due diligence, head to the link in the show notes and mention That Property Mum for a 10% discount. Okay, now let's dive into the episode. So you know how we've all been complaining, myself included, we are stressed out, we're overworked, we're burnt out, we can't find new people to join our team? Well, what if there was a really simple solution and you just hadn't thought of it yet, or you aren't brave enough to try it? Believe me, I get it. Engaging a virtual assistant in my business was terrifying. It was a relatively new thing when I got one, and of course, I was filled with the usual fears. Will they take up too much of my time? I'm already stretched too thin as it is. Can I afford it? Will it really make a difference to my business? And I'm going to tell you right now, those fears are very valid. But thankfully, they were short-lived. In fact, I now have 3 VAs in my business, and they 100%, hand on heart, have been the X factor. Now, for me, engaging a virtual assistant came out of a genuine desire to make life easier and less stressful for my property managers. I'd had a string of property management assistants we'd poured time, love and energy into, who would decide after 6 months in the job that it wasn't for them. And that's okay. Property management isn't for everyone. But that meant, as the business owner, I was back on the recruitment roller coaster. My overworked, burnt out senior PMs were back to the drawing board with onboarding and training yet another assistant. I was also losing managements because my customer service just wasn't up to par. My property managers were run off their feet, head down in all the paperwork and compliance, and they just didn't have time to return emails or phone calls. I totally got it because I was one of them. I was in the trenches too. Now, the thing you need to know about implementing a VA is at first it does require a time commitment and it will require patience, and you will have to embark on some change management with your team, as my guest today calls it. I'm very excited to have the queen of boss babes, Tiffany Bowtell, on the podcast. Tiff is the CEO of Property Management Virtual Assistants, an outsourcing business based in the Philippines with a head office in Australia. Now, in my humble opinion, and it's probably because I haven't worked with any other outsourcing companies, They are the gold star of outsourcing for real estate. As a former property manager, property trainer, and software trainer, Tiffany knows a thing or two about the industry. Her premium outsourcing solution helps real estate businesses streamline and grow with zero downtime, no staff turnover costs, benchmarked processes, and fast implementation. Sounds too good to be true? Well, it's not. Keep listening. Tiffany, thank you so much for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. Now, before we dive in today, can you please tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you got started doing what you're doing now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on the show, Kylie. I really appreciate that. How did I get started? Well, I started in property management, I guess, in my 20s. And from being a property manager and sort of sitting in all the different roles that a PM office has, I actually got the opportunity to go overseas, and I worked in London. And whilst it was originally just going to be a short trip overseas, my first one really in my late 20s, I kind of met some other lady that was on a tour, like a Kentucky tour. I got talking to her and she said, I'm actually going to be staying on after the trip and I've got a job already in property management. And that conversation continued, and I didn't go home after that trip, and I stayed in the UK and got a job with her in property management. Funnily enough, that person now has a predominant recruitment business out of New South Wales, out of Sydney, recruiting property managers now. And I think I got a taste for overseas travel, and I really enjoyed seeing that property management could be done on a global scale and seeing the differences and nuances from country to country. So I always had a sort of a taste for property management systems, processes. And so when I left the industry to go into being a property management trainer, I left the industry specifically to work at Console as their head trainer. And that was where I got to do more of the tech side of running the business and doing property management from a technical perspective using software and, adding on all the lessons and things like that. From there, I then started my first business in 2010, which was a property management training and consulting business where I travelled to 8,000 offices in 8 years. So you can imagine after that much time in people's offices, you got to see systems, processes, you could compare office to office to office to office. And I really started to develop these more what I would call best practice blueprints for processes where you would combine your human resources, your people, with the technology, the legislation, and putting it all together in some kind of package that would make the job easier to do. And it was in that business clients started asking me about the outsourcing. So I had been growing my business. I bootstrapped it from my own savings in my back bedroom and went, let's invent something here. And to do that, when you're starting out, you need help. And the low-cost labour solution offshore was in my budget. And out of necessity, I needed to get help, and that's what happened. So clients cottoned on to what I was doing and asked me would I get them one, and lo and behold, the training business absorbed into the outsourcing business. And now we're 7 years into property management virtual assistant. We've got nearly 200 staff in the Philippines. I own the Philippines entity, so we're incorporated. I pay taxes in another country. And yeah, it's just been an incredible journey so far. This year we opened in the US, so now we're doing property management in the US. And just like my experience in the UK, the job's the same no matter where you are on the planet. Rent arrears is rent arrears, although we call it delinquency over there. The language is a little bit different, but the processes are the same. It's humans helping humans find places to live and live the lives that they live. That's what property management is all about. And on the other side of that, it's about investors being able to create wealth for themselves through investing in real estate and property on a global basis. And that's how I got into it. Does that answer the question?
That is amazing. It's such a cool story. I think I've been with you for 5 years now with having VAs in our business as well. Yeah. So let's maybe go back to the start. For anyone listening that may be sitting on the fence, deciding whether or not a VA is suitable for their business or whether they should get one, what are some of the benefits of having a virtual assistant in your business?
I think initially you've got different types of outsourcing that are available and all different kinds of models now. But the fundamental idea of outsourcing is to free up time so that the person who needs that assistant can free up some time in order to be able to keep progressing themselves forward and using that free time to be able to do more, if that makes sense. So whether that's managing more properties or managing more team members as they grow, whatever that might be. So the benefits of outsourcing are always going to be to create freedom for yourself, to then use that freedom in a way that you can get some kind of personal benefit out of that. I think with the outsourcing, the main benefit then, once you've worked out that it's a freeing up of time, is to then look at how you're using the outsourcing model and explore the options of modeling that would work for you. Because with outsourcing, it's kind of like I like to think of it as a mathematical equation. It is ultimately, when you look at the process, you're either going to pay very little but have to input more, or you pay a little bit more and input less. And we have different packages with different pricing depending on how much commitment clients want or how much they want to do or not do. And actually, Kylie, you've experienced both. So you've got different VAs doing different things under different packages. And again, depending on how much input you want to put in as to how much you want to get out. And I think that's probably the benefit is you can pick the right model depending on your cost and input to create the right solution for yourself. It's just a matter of exploring those model types and going, which one suits me, what's most cost effective, and what will free up my time in the long run the best.
Well, let's dive in and break down those models.
Sure.
I do use both, and there's pros and cons of both of them. I love each and every one of the VAs that work with. I think we've got 3 now. So I love absolutely, and they have been an X factor in both of my businesses. So let's talk about the 2 or 3 models. Is it 2 or 3 different models you've got?
We've really got the 2. So we've got either the DIY model, which we call do it yourself, or you've got the done for you model. And then in the done for you model, depending on how much Australian help you want, you can pick between a higher package or a medium package, depending on how much extra help you want from the Australian team. So really there's the 2 models that we have, which is the DIY or the do it done for you.
And we'll maybe break down the done for you because I think a lot of businesses, and that's certainly, when you're busy running a property management department, the done for you, I think that differs from a lot of other outsourcing companies that are out there as well. Your done for you is like really done for you, isn't it?
Yeah, because we're a training consulting business first. So we're a property management training consulting business, with years of experience in that industry. So it didn't make sense. When we opened the outsourcing business, it didn't make sense to me to offer a DIY model. Like, why? There's no point in difference there. Plus, I'd only be doing our clients a dissatisfaction in not offering a done for you, because the reason they want the done for you is because they're busy and they really want to work with someone who understands and knows and can just get on with it. And being that client's trainer, I knew the client's systems and processes, and it was easy for me to train the Philippines employees to be able to do it the way the client wanted it, because I knew how the client wanted it to be done, if that makes sense. So in our done for you model, there's 2 elements to this. The done for you has a very specific onboarding process, or what we call implementation. And there are models out there now that, we compete with that do offer probably a good value add in terms of onboarding. And onboarding is essential to get your systems and processes and the task selection correct to have the best impact in your office. And when we say done for you, that basically means that, you just sort of tell us that you'd like lease renewals plus new tenant plus application plus maintenance follow-up done. And we have a task selection of about 200 things that you can outsource with our with our model. And then once the client does the task selection, we create a strategy. So because sometimes people want a VA per portfolio, some want one VA between two portfolios, some want a VA to work in a pod system. So again, we're not fussed in terms of how you want to use the VA, but the strategy is really important, because if you pick the wrong strategy, you don't tend to get the result. So there is a consultative part to the onboarding process that I think is really essential. And then, once you've got your first VA on board, you've also got to think about long-term growth and strategy of when you might put your second and third VA into the mix as you grow your rent roll. And I think that's all part of the process too, is having a bit of a plan of action, just like you would with your local team. You'd have a plan of action too. But then the other part of the unique service that we offer in the Done For You is we don't just drop out because the implementation's over. We remain consistently plugged into your business through a series of assessments, reviews of your best practice blueprints and processes. We offer additional task services should you, decide you want to outsource a few more things to your VA beyond implementation. And then we monitor everything that your VA does. And we benchmark your VA against other VAs in other offices. So we're now at the point where we have 2 results coaches on our floor, and the results coaches are responsible for the overall productivity and performance of each virtual assistant in comparison to each other. So what that means is we have standard benchmarks now across the floor where we can say, on average, an application processed in using this combination of software on average is, say, 15 to 18 minutes. And then that virtual assistant can be compared against others. And that allows for the best productivity. It gives the virtual assistant consistency, and it tells them these are the expectations on how long the turnaround of each task might be. And then the performance coaches are there to just make sure that the virtual assistant's happy, that, that process is correct in terms of timing and that they're on track and not faltering. And then part of the Done For You is then if they are, we coach them, and we give them more training, and we supply them more information so that they can deliver those benchmarks and ensure that the client's getting exactly what they need at any stage of the process. And all of that stuff's done really a combination of our Philippines internal resources, so our internal staff. We have about 40 internal team members. And then we have our Australian team that are more consultative, that work with the client with communication. And then in addition to that, if your VA has a day off or is sick or any of those human resource problems that every office experiences when you have staff, is the way we combat that is by offering a backup VA. So every client that comes on board, every virtual assistant allocation has what we call our first responder backup or your second responder backup. So every client typically will know who their first and second people are. They'll be part of your weekly or monthly team meetings. And they're there at the ready to jump in and continue the process, so that if that person is unwell, they can get treated. Where we have a full-time nurse, we have a clinic, we have a private hospital right next door to our office. So we kind of manage and monitor home visits and healthcare and all of those things in the Philippines. So when we say Done For You, it really is fully done for you.
Property inspections, entries, exits, incomings, outgoings, routine inspections, whatever you call them, you have to do them. And I remember when I first started as a property manager, you had to handwrite the reports and take notes on a digital camera, then upload the photo memory card to your computer and hope and pray that they weren't all blurry or your computer had enough memory to store them. But gone are those days, thanks to Inspection Express. Now, Inspection Express is not only the #1 tool used by leading property managers across Australia and New Zealand, but the leader in groundbreaking new tech in the industry with the launch of 360-degree virtual tours. Now, virtual tours is upping the ante, giving landlords, owners and directors unparalleled 360-degree virtual access to their properties. So head to the link in the show notes to book in your free demo with Inspection Express. I can actually vouch for that because we have been through a few changes, especially with COVID. There was lots of situations I know you guys had to deal with, which was, I can only imagine managing that from Australia in your office in the Philippines. But the thing was, we never missed a day's work. We never, we had, the workload was continuing to flow. When we have had a changeover, for VAs have had to leave for whatever reasons, we've had somebody replace them instantaneously. There's been no gaps. There's been no retraining on our end, because you guys, on top of all of that other stuff, also provide full training for everybody. And they're all trained on Australian legislation as well.
Correct. Yeah. So everything that's connected to, because the best practice blueprint combines the process both for the property manager and the virtual assistant. So it's a full process for the office. And then it includes the legislation, the technology combination, and everything in between. So we found our clients like to use it as more of a recruitment tool in the Australian side of the business, because they can, when they're interviewing potential property managers to join their team, they can use these documents to go, coming into this office, we have systems and processes. This is what they look like. This is the support we offer. And you can work in an environment that's quite organised. And I think a lot of property managers like to work in environments these days that are super organised, rather than this ad hoc, crazy, stressed out roles that we can do as property managers. The work's hard enough without your systems and processes also being clunky or different from one portfolio to another within the same office, which I know you guys are super planned out in terms of who's doing what within your organisation.
Definitely have to be these days. So what are some of the tasks then, or the main tasks? And I guess you can, because I know it's not just property management, it's also sales. I've just got one of your VAs to help me with social media. So sort of maybe share the main tasks that, somebody could get a VA to help them with.
Yeah, so we've got what we call 6 lines of business. So that starts off with typically your leasing virtual assistant tasks. So that's everything from a new management and filling in your Form 6 and getting your new business up and running, or appraisals from a rental perspective, doing CMAs, that type of task. Once you list the property or you relet a property, the advertising component, so putting up the ads on realestate.com and various websites, responding to viewing requests, loading up your OFI runs, and helping out the PM in terms of scheduling when to do opens and respond to those inquiries that are coming through from potential tenants. Then into the application process and processing as much of the application as possible, presenting it then to the PM in a really quick, easy summary so that they can just make the call to the owner to get the approval. That then moves into what we call our PM line of business, which is the during the tenancy component. From there, you can select tasks, everything related to during the tenancy, from lease renewal, maintenance, routine inspection, scheduling, to transcribing routine reports, sending those off to the owners, entry condition reports, reminding the PM to go get the keys cut, all of that sort of stuff, from Google reviews once the tenant's moved in and the lease is signed, and just all the smaller details as well as part of that, including the vacate process. Then we move into what we call compliance. So we've got a fair bit of compliance work that we do with our clients, from chasing up trades insurance renewals to smoke alarm auditing and all that sort of stuff that people would love time to do but don't ever really get time to do until you have to. That sort of stuff. Then we move into our lead generation. So that lead generation moves into PM and the sales department, which is your marketing. So we do on-market lists, we market monitor. What that means is we monitor, the virtual assistant can monitor what properties are coming on and off for rentals or sales in the marketplace, and give you a bit of a list and let you know when that 60-day period might come up and those authorities might expire, and it might be time to try and find the owner details. We do the social media posting. Not the creative, I will say that's probably not an area that the virtual assistant's really good at from a creative writing, copyright or anything like that. I still think that's probably, the content creation is still done locally, but in terms of scheduling and creating imagery that goes with the content created, that part's quite easy for us to do. And then that moves into your sales campaign. Once, then you've got your listing appraisal, sales administration, right through to then your marketing, auctioning, and everything to do with the settlement of a property, right through to anniversary cards 5 years down the track, and everything in between, Kylie.
So many things. I mean, I always say to people when they're asking me about, virtual assistants, I always say to them, any administration tasks that you can take off your hands that you don't need. And the reason I got a VA in the first place was because I wanted to free up my team to be able to do more customer service. That's what, in my opinion, property management is all about customer service. And, when everyone's so bogged down in paperwork and so stressed out, and, and then as business owners, you get stressed out because they're not finishing paperwork correctly and the owners haven't been responded to. So yeah, for me, it was really important to find a way to free up my property managers' time so that they could concentrate on being less stressed and then also servicing our clients at a higher level. So, but a few people that I have spoken to as well, have said, oh, isn't it hard work? I don't have time to onboard a VA. And yes, it does require a time commitment up front. But, I guess maybe just share some of the hurdles and, I guess then the benefits of, once you've overcome those hurdles.
Yeah, I think the key thing to putting on a virtual assistant, and it's the same exactly the same process when you put on new staff in your own office, local staff, and the same thing happens again when you change software programs. So if you're swapping from one software to another, all of it's change management. It's all about managing the change within the office. So a virtual assistant or plugging in an outsourcing arrangement is going to be the same as any other change management in your business. You've got to get your team involved. And in this case, you've got to get them to let go. Because that is one of the hurdles is they go, yep, we're going to do the outsourcing. We're going to get on the calls. We're going to systemize our processes. And that clients don't have to with us because we do that for them. We just, co-facilitate and let them customize what they need. But still, you can get down the 3-4 week track and the property managers still aren't letting go. So that is one of the biggest hurdles is you have this resource here, this staff member's turning up with a smile on their face, ready to do the work, fully trained to do it. And then people just won't let the task go. So again, that requires team and change management. It really needs to be driven and it become from the local end, so to speak. So when we're working with clients, we're really looking for the kind of office that has good leadership skills and that the team are really on board with the change. So typically I say to people, if you're thinking about it, explore the model, explore the options, know what kind of supplier you're looking for and the type of product or service you're looking for. And then once you know that, you've got to involve the team first to be able to overcome that hurdle and make sure the team are involved in the process. Just like if you were changing your trust account software program, you've got to get your team retrained on how to do maintenance from Property Tree to Property Me or whatever that might be. It's the same thing. So if you haven't got the team on board, it's probably not going to go too far. That's probably the biggest change that I see is just the commitment. Let's do it.
Yeah. I can actually totally relate to that because when I was onboarding VAs, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but I also was changing to Property Me at the same time. And I had 3 or 4 property managers quit in one day because they weren't on board with the changes.
I remember sitting in your office and we had that conversation and we were like, all right, we're just going to go for it.
I think I was in tears, probably almost in the fetal position. No wonder I ended up with a heart condition. But anyway, we got there.
Too now.
Ditto. I know the joys of business ownership. Now, I love personal development and I'm sure you do as well. Do you have a resource or a tool, a book, a podcast, something that you can share with our listeners today?
Yeah, look, my go-to personal development might sound a bit cliched is Tony Robbins. I really enjoy his work from a personal as well as a professional development resource. In our business, we do a Tony Robbins training twice a year. We've purchased all of his programs, and I can tell you, my internal team, we have a bucket list item. Everybody in my internal team wants to go to Florida and attend one of his 5-day events. I don't know if or when we'll ever get that bucket list ticked off, but it is a dream of my team to be able to go to the US US and do that. Maybe, who knows, our first client's actually from Florida, so you never know. We could tie it in as a business trip maybe down the track. But what I like about his training courses is their audio, and so you can digest them quite quickly. You listen to those audio tapes. Gosh, I'm showing my age, Kylie. Audio books in your car. So if you're a property manager listening and you're interested in some personal development to listen to, that's more of a training than maybe a podcast, because I know that everyone's addicted to your podcast, but they might want more of a training or a formal training. I like those trainings because they come with a workbook as well. What we've done with his courses is they're typically 10-day training courses, and you do them over a 10-day period. Instead, as a business, what we do is we break them into 10-week trainings. So everyone listens to the audio on a weekend, and we fill in the workbook over the weekend. And then during the week, we do a catch-up where we reiterate what we've learned about that session, and we call them session 1, and then we go into session 2. So halfway through the year, we do a personal one. So our most recent one was called The Body You Deserve, which was all about health and wellbeing and fitness and bringing our food psychology into our lifestyle. We do that with the Australian team and the Philippines internal team. So that was sort of the first one we did. And then the second one we did was the professional learning one, which was called The Time of Your Life, which is all about time management, organising your day, prioritisation, important decision-making, and planning and outcomes and performance. So everyone kind of gets a taste in our business of that. And then we do that through our management team. Then we break it down even further. So once the management team's done that course, each person who runs a department in our management team takes everyone through their department as a leader in the business. So then they take that training course and they train that course through Tony's training platform, and then they run their staff through it. So they get to be the trainer, and then we take all the staff through the same program.
That is amazing. Well. Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's fantastic. And I think that time management one, I might get you to share the link with me for that training, and I'll put it in the show notes, because I think that would work well with a lot of property managers.
Yeah.
Now, how can anyone who is thinking about a VA or is not happy with their current VA or just wants more information about it, what's the best place for them to reach out to you?
So on our website, which is just www.pmva.com.au, on the homepage there's a find out more button. So you can click straight into there, and that takes you to my calendar. That gives you some session times where you can book in a strategy session direct with me. Being the owner, founder of the business, I still do those strategy appointments. It's my favourite job of all of the jobs that I do, is meeting new people and doing the strategy side of the outsourcing, giving them a bit of I'm a bit of a tour guide in terms of the world of outsourcing. And then we just go through that process and work out whether it's right for that particular agency to do it, when it might be the right time to do it, because it's not always when they first inquire. Sometimes it could be 6 months down the track or even a year down the track. Sometimes they might need more properties before they make the move and it become beneficial. Other times it might be straight away. So, it just does depend. My calendar, because of that reason, gets pretty full, and you can't always quite get in, and sometimes there's a week or two wait. But, that's what it is. I think when you're making these decisions, I really want to give people the best time, but I've also got the company to run as well. And for us, we don't grow at these rapid rates that maybe some of the other outsourcing companies are growing at. For us, we work with about 3 new clients a month, and it's all about the longevity of the relationship and making the best impact we can. So that's why I still do that task. I love it, and I like to see the growth and change, and I like to see the success of the client, which is the vision of our business. We help real estate business owners succeed. That's why we all get up every day, and that's our motto, and that's what we do. So that's how people can get in touch if they're interested in just having it's not a sales pitch, it's just a no obligation conversation about the world of outsourcing and whether or not it will fit for them. Yeah.
Fantastic. I do encourage you all to reach out to Tiff. She is a wealth of knowledge on property management as well. Thank you so much, Tiff. I've been trying to get you on this podcast for a while now, so I'm glad I finally locked you in.
Thanks. Thanks so much, Kylie. It's been really great. And to anyone listening, I think that this podcast, I've listened to so many episodes in my car, and I think what you're doing, Kylie, to the industry is really valuable. And definitely during COVID, I know your little personal videos that you do on your Facebook group and that community that you're creating is so helpful to so many people. And it's really great to see you in the industry making your difference as well and seeing your dream come true. It's great.
Thanks so much, Tiff. I just was going to quickly share a funny story. My beautiful VA, Nina, she was so excited. She sent me reminds me every day of my appointments, and she said, Boss Tiff is on today. So she was very excited.
Yeah, Lady Boss Tiff. I'll be back there next week. So we're having our Christmas party next week. So it'll be nice to be back in the office. But I do travel often, but I find my strengths are here in this country and working with clients on a one-to-one basis. So Philippines, as an incorporated business, we have a structure there that allows for everything to be done remotely, which has worked out really great for us. And I know, look, cybersecurity may be another conversation we have at some point down the track, Kylie, because I know it's been a hot topic of late. But yeah, really managing the two offices is something I'm very passionate about, and creating the results for business owners like yourself is what we're here to do.
Amazing. Thanks, Tiff.
Thanks, Kylie. Bye.
Time management is precious for property managers, and with so many tasks to do every single day and week, have you ever thought about how much time do you waste in an average day troubleshooting annoying maintenance questions? Let me tell you, it's a lot. But there is a solution: Rental Heroes. They are the #1 natural language AI conversation platform for real estate. What does that mean? Well, they have artificial intelligence automation that deals with all your tenant maintenance inquiry. It even logs a job into your software, all without you having to do a thing. And if you thought that was amazing, wait till you try their chatbot that collects your leads on your website 24/7. Now, we all need a hero in our life, so make yours Alex. Head to the link in the show notes and book in your free demo. If you love the Property Management Podcast, you've got to check out the PM Collective, hosted by my friend, Ashley Goodchild. She discusses things like how to have awkward conversations about pay rises, yes please, how to raise the bar in property management, and why so many people just seem to fall into the industry. You've got to love stories like that. She'll leave you with great advice, actionable steps to take, and let you know that you're not alone in any of the challenges that you face. So be sure to check out the PM Collective wherever you get your podcasts. I know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it here. Now, if you're someone who is serious about growing your property management business and you'd like to learn the systems that I've put in place inside my own business that consistently brings in new management leads every single week without me having to do anything, then go to the show notes and take a look at the options for working further with me. Whether that's an online course, one-on-one coaching, or free resources on my website. Until next time, my friend.